second mic for?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. That would go bad.
Yeah.
Terrible. I'll.
Mike, go ahead. Yep. Hi, Claudia. Come here for a second.
All right.
Adjust your mic if you need to, by the way.
All right. I'm just gonna do the first. Psych ward shenanigans. 3 words the nurses did not want to hear, but nothing can stop me from making my own fun. 10 words the nurses really did not want to hear. Did I mess that one up for real? What?
them a hug. Make sure they eat at night. Make sure they sleep at night, that they eat okay. I want to push away baseball bats and Benadryl bottles. Yada, yada, yada. Why is my phone frozen? Okay. I want to take all the young men in my life and give them a hug. Okay. And then loudest part. My heart breaks when a boy says he's too scared. He can't talk to his parents about it because they'd just be disappointed.
Was that your loudest? Ruth?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Jax.
Okay.
Oh, it's up the ladder? Oh, good.
Trying to figure out what's my loudest line.
Oh, I got you.
I mean, it should be at the right height because Ruth was last.
Hello, hello. All right, how we feeling? There it is, there it is. So welcome. This is the showcase part of Mic Check Poetry Fest. Some of you I've seen before, some of you I don't know, so I'm excited that you're here. Today's show is going to be really, really awesome. So we start with our IC Speak students. If you don't know what go ahead, give some love for the people. Yes. So IC Speaks is a high school program. We teach spoken word to high schoolers and teenagers of all kinds. And they have been working on poems all year round. They meet with me virtually every Saturday morning because I guess they like spoken word that much. I don't get it. I'm just kidding, guys. But I'm really excited to share some of their work with you. And then we'll get to our headliners for Mic Check Poetry Fest. We will have Ebony Stewart come up. Yes. And then Patricia Smith. Yes. So it's a packed show. It's going to be awesome. And I think without further ado, I'm going to call up our first poet. Please welcome up Liv. Liv, come on up. You know what? Clap her to the stage. Clap her all the way up there.
This is wild culture. I knew him as a stone monolith, but he was a feather in the wind to anyone but me. I searched for his hand to spin him around, thinking to lead him into a dip, but even I knew that was far too intimate for the moment. Instead, I searched for another hand and twirl myself. I searched for a pause in the laughter, the break between the songs and transition of the bands. I searched for the silence, a silence I lost my privilege to. I searched for anything that drowns out the ringing. I haven't taken the space to practice. I haven't taken the time to know myself. Instead, I find things I never thought to look for. Like the out-of-place stubble on his upper lip, a cheek or a forehead to place a kiss upon. I find the splinter in my finger given by a rackety lean-against fence he broke later that same evening. I search for his hair and his height amongst the crowd. We've all got the same sweat-drenched, hand-printed T-shirts, fists in our back and feet swept out from under us. I'm getting thrown against the monolith, but he's getting blown around like a feather in the wind. The singer speaks to all of us, flitting through the grease fiends, but his eyes are drawn to the man floating through the air, anchored only by the moment. I search for what to say when we filter out of the room. I can't hear my own thoughts or the ringing in my ears. I can't hear myself. Would I recognize my own voice if it didn't echo against the monolith? He was the first and the last to see me leave, for the wind carried him back into the crowd. Thank you.
Would I recognize my own voice? Okay, Liv, we see you. Yes, give the extra love for that. Yes. And I feel like I did y'all a disservice. I didn't really tell y'all what the expectations were in this space. And I heard some of y'all do it over here. I know some of y'all with the nails. I know who you are. But for real, this is a spoken word space, which means we give reciprocal energy, right? So when these poets come up here, they are sharing real stuff. They're sharing their creative work, what they created and what they cared for, nurtured to make onto the page and then onto this stage. So when they do that and you hear it, you receive it, you can give something back, right? So together, we warm up together. Give me the snaps. Yes, yes. This is a tool you can take outside of spoken word spaces, and you can just snap whenever you want, because that's what I do. Yes, thank you. Other things that you can do, right, is you can give short exclamatory terms, right? You can say, oh, yeah, okay. Let's do an okay together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, that was good. Y'all loosening up. I can feel it. All right, so you can do any of that. Nothing too long, but give the love, right? Another thing that you can do, and I know some of y'all have heard me say this a million times, but it doesn't matter because I'm trying to make it catch on, which is grunting, all right? This is that moment when something hits you in the gut and you go, Yes. All right, so together, we're going to grunt. You ready? That at any point in a poem. Yeah, right. Hey, yo, if you want to growl, you want to bring it out. Bang, bang, right? Anything. It's give that love back. Let that poet know that that line, that sound, that performance, that choreo, any of that hit you, right? Because we do this to connect with people. So the power is when you give that back. All right, so that is just some of those tools for you to use at your leisure. Thank you. And we are going to welcome up our next poet. This poet was a part of the IC Speaks Slam team. Yes. For those of you who don't know, IC Speaks took their slam team to Des Moines to compete in the I Love Slam Fest. And so they got to compete with 2 other slam teams in Iowa. And, we gave it our all. And we gave a big fight. We ate it out. You're right. We did. We ate. So this poet had trained all summer and had practiced this poem in order to bring it to the stage. And they killed it. And now it is his time to do it again. Please welcome up Claude A.
Nasty. She and I are waiting for the ambulance to pick me up. I have my bag ready packed. It's always a week's stay. Clothes for the day and the night. No hoodie or pants strings allowed because that's a safety hazard. Sketchpads later show to my old friends and the techs who all praised me. A book I'd always carry around. And lastly, a Polaroid as my friend as the bookmark gently tucked in. By now, I already know the drill. She and I are on the balcony, a few feet apart, a distance between us. The Amber Alert was called off. The sun was starting to set. I came back home. Found her in the front yard, surprised to see me later. The policeman questioned me, pulled me aside, out of sight of mother's accusing eyes, told me to be truthful with him, and I was, because he felt more safe. Told me it was mandatory after what I did to call the ambulance, and I knew this. I trusted a stranger more. Still, no one is saying anything. The neighbors and the rest of the family went back inside. It's just us and the nights. Her looking at the porch lights across the street while I'm looking for the flashing ambulance lights. And she's wondering what the neighbors think of us, the gossip that'll spread. Some sympathetic to her, others not. All their questions probing for her reaction. I know her all too well. Shoulders sloped and furrowed eyebrows, she asks me, "Why are you doing this to me?" And I just stared at her, continuing this silence between us, hearing that right there, and then I finally started to put the pieces together that this mother and child dynamic, this was toxic.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love when a poet tackles something that they're not afraid to tackle, something that, I don't know, I'd be scared to tackle. So I always appreciate every poet who's brave enough to take this stage like that. Yes. All right, please welcome up this next poet, Charlie. Charlie, come on up.
I hate every speed reader in existence. I hate God for making it a pastime. I hate hearing you grew up reading Harry Potter books cover to cover in 3 days. I hate librarians the same way I hate drowning in the ocean. Words are my water. I hate drinking water. I'll swallow nails before I'd choke on the fences play again. Feel the spikes make a railroad track in my stomach tissue so my words can travel to your words on vacation and spit on them. The only book I ever made it through easily was The Outsiders. Something about senseless violence and a book in my hands digested well. I hate reading so much I'd burn down the Alexandria Library if it had lasted. Then I'd spread its ashes in every literate household. I'd make families see what they made me do. I'd leave one book left, bury it under my floorboards till I hear its heartbeat tell tales of its sadness. I hate that metaphor. I hate books. Mostly I hate readers. I hate how easily you make it seem like we're all on the same level, like you don't see how hard it is for me to do my favorite thing in the world. I hate you, and I know you hate me, because then you would have made dyslexia an easier word to read.
Keep it going, keep it going. Give him some more love there. Ooh. Yeah. Well done, poet. Thank you. All right, we're moving right along here. Please put your hands together for Ruth. Ruth, come on up.
So before I start reading, I just want to give a content warning or trigger warning for mentions of suicide or self-harm. If you need to leave the room at any point, do that. Please take care of yourself. I also gotta adjust the mic. Okay. I want to take all the young men in my life and give them a hug. Make sure they sleep at night, that they eat okay. I want to push away baseball bats and Benadryl bottles, hold their hands every time they bring their index and middle finger up to their mouth as a joke. Like, if I look at them with enough care, maybe I can convince them to not look at the exit so much. I hear joke about crippling depression, but I see tall, dark brown hair, freckles. Growing up, he had a science lab in his closet made almost exclusively out of expired boxes of baking soda. After beating a brain tumor, he got something like a 34 on the ACT. He's a genius, and every day I pray he's still smart enough to see that his life means something. I hear suicide joke, but see blue eyes and blonde hair like a Lego minifigure piece. We bully each other at work because that's what makes getting through the shift worthwhile. I ask our coworker if I should be worried and hear his voice go soft as he tries to assure me it's okay, saying he was suicidal too, so he knows what to watch for. And neither of these boys is the coworker I see with scars bruised onto his arm. I hear, you don't need to worry about me. But I see shoulder-length hair that's faded blue, glasses, and a crooked smile I beg to see every time I kick down his door and drag him out of bed. Try to convince him he's not a burden for telling me how he's feeling, all the while worrying for his roommates who notoriously never want to talk about how they're doing. But when people ask me if I'm okay, I laugh. When I couldn't get out of bed in the morning, clean the kitchen, bother to eat, my mom and I would share dinner, get lunch, talk in the car. I'd let her know all about my good days, and she'd tell me she's proud of me. My sister once left a bag of candy for me on my bed. My friend never hesitated to send me messages reminding me she cares. My heart breaks when a boy tells me he's too scared he can't talk to his parents because they'd just be disappointed. I have always said some days I have too much love to give. Like, if I write this poem well enough, they'll never have to worry about being called weak again. Like, if I write this poem well enough, maybe their bodies will relearn how to cry. I've always said I have too much love to give, but what I really mean is sometimes I worry I won't have all the people to give it to anymore. I want to give all of the boys in my life a hug, because if my arms are around them, at least that means they can't do anything else.
I just I want to brag for a second for the fact that I was in the workshop when Ruth started that poem. So, it did start in the library. Thank you, poet, for that. We are going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving here. I want to make sure we get everyone in. Please welcome Caroline. Caroline, come on up.
Thank you. I'm 5'3" and a half. Here today, I read something I have wanted to get off my chest for a long time. I love my ass. An ass that knows every Cardi B song from chorus to bridge. An ass that celebrates Hot Girl Summer 24/7, 365. An ass that is the source of my power. I'm sorry if this poem makes you uncomfortable, because society has conditioned us to believe that a young woman being comfortable in her body is a sin. I should be on my knees in a confessional booth, because clearly I have been exposed to too much Nicki Minaj. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. This is my first confessional. But the only Catholic I'll get on my knees for is Lady Gaga, who proudly shakes her ass for the girls' gays and days to get that coin. Forgive me, Father, for I have pulled an Icarus. I have slayed too close to the sun. This is the energy I want to take into the afterlife. When my heart is weighed against the feather of Maat, I hope they understand that my good deeds were done by a woman comfortable shopping in the petite section. You see, I am femininity. Aphrodite wasn't a size 2. She had hip dips and thighs made for crushing grapes into wine. Her stomach was not a 2D shape. Her waist was not cinched. When she rose from the seas surrounding Cyprus, she did not care that she was butt-ass naked. She took her rightful seat among the gods because that is where she knew she belonged. So yes, I will personally follow Aphrodite's teachings of femininity, because it doesn't matter how you choose to be feminine. Beyonce may be more voluptuous, or dare I say bootylicious than me, and Kim K may be able to balance a Chardonnay on that ass, but that doesn't mean I am any less than them. Instead of finding my flaws, I am determined to paint my perfections. I am not a mother, but that does not mean I am not a woman. What is in between my legs does not make me a woman. My favorite color does not make me a woman. You see, every day as my rights get ripped away in the shredder of our capitalist cacophony, I find it harder and harder to love myself, to love the fact that I am a woman. Why should I be punished if I haven't done anything wrong? But every time the intrusive thoughts awaken the most gallivanting dreams, I try to find one thing in that moment I can love about myself. And 9 times out of 10, it's my ass. So yes, because of this silly little coping mechanism, I am now comfortable in telling a room full of strangers I love my gluteus maximus, because it is important for others to see someone be able to at least find one thing they love about themselves. And if you don't like that, you can kiss my ass.
With the strut. Oh, what a solid strut off, too. Own that shit. Give it up. Give some more love there. Yes. We love a self-love poem. We really do. All right, please welcome up our next poem, Nancy. Nancy, come on up.
Thank you. She leans into the mirror, and the comb glides through a side of her wispy head in one loose stroke, strands flitting in the wind between the empty chasms of comb, something between silk and straw. Her hair is butterfly, dyed red roots, painted lady. She is butterfly, and cleaning up every mess that isn't hers, fingerprints burned off and scrubbed away, but she still has that gentle touch. Nymph of a held breath, wishes unspoken and unfulfilled. Sorry, mother, but I'll be telling the world of your gray hairs. No, I mean silver. Silver-studded blue butterfly, sterling streak, mother of a string of pearls, not gray like moth. My hair is moth. Poodle in a big brown house of a head, clumsy, caught in gnawing nets and brush bristles, and trying to fight back against everything I see her succumb to. I better know my needs, know what I want.
I'd better be filled with a thick wick for a brighter light and a want to handle fire, 'cause I'm gonna get us both the life we want. Fingerprints scarred off because I'd be grazing the sun. Battering at the windows in the night, fist full of curls as I finally stand up for myself. My mother, soft, cold touch, weathered butterfly, sputtering, tired spurts of up. A monarch losing her battle, receding back into the corners of the world. But look at all these young ones bursting out of cocoons and rushing away from giving up. Mom has hair that's picked up by the wind, trails it, and ballroom turns under it. I'll be strong for you and for me. I want my hair to be the flock that migrates with the wind, the strength to chase, and the love to curl back around to you.
Nancy's the kind of poet where every time I want to sit with her work even more and longer and be with it. Thank you, Nancy. All right, this next partner piece that we're gonna share was also part of the slam team, part of the state slam competition. Yes. And so please welcome up Vinyl and Charlie. Come on up, y'all.
Psych ward shenanigans. 3 words the nurses did not want to hear, but nothing can stop me from making my own fun. 10 words the nurses really did not want to hear.
When you're in the cancer ward, 1 foot away from being 6 feet in the ground, humor is the best way to lighten the mood in a room full of tragedy. Because what's the point if I can't make my parents laugh?
After being shipped 3 hours from home and put in a small room with no windows for 2 days, I was finally in what some would call an unfortunate situation.
After 3 years, I'm uncomfortable with the size of the tumor in my brain, but at least laughing about it makes the cancer spread slower.
I've always been funny, but bullied, abused, and a decade on a drug that causes suicidal ideation, I don't have a lot of family-friendly things to say.
When you get desperate, sometimes you need to laugh, even if it's at an open wound.
Bad jokes are the easiest thing to laugh at through psych ward walls. I've been changing meds so fast
like
that
the
it's
setup
led
to
up
a
to a
punchline.
punchline. I have always felt I am a joke.
The laugh track in your sitcom, barely noticed, but uncomfortable if you leave me out, because the silence will suffocate you.
I made myself the fucked up jokes you like. It means something this way. My hurt isn't for nothing if someone's laughing.
As we got older, the joke stopped being funny.
Our friends wanted us to stop. They told us it was too uncomfortable to cope with a sick joke.
But I don't know how to make my jokes any better.
Maybe my jokes just need a hobby.
Or a long car ride with the windows down, his favorite playlist on. Maybe my jokes need to socialize more. Bill Nye said it best.
Consider the following. This is how I survived the worst of my life. I know it's uncomfortable and it hurts to hear them sometimes, but there are days where I am living hour to hour and no further.
I've heard that the nice thing about chemo is you'll never have another bad hair day.
What's the difference between me and insanity? My uncle didn't beat insanity.
The best part about brain surgery is you'll get the greatest sleep of your life.
What do you call a person who will probably steal some of your things? The babysitter. Now, what do you call a person who didn't know when to stop touching your things? Also the babysitter.
If radiation therapy burns me, do I get a discount at the crematorium?
How many mentally ill kids does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. They all want to keep the room dark, but regardless, I've heard that shooting yourself is a pretty effective way to clear the mind.
I'm sorry for making you uncomfortable.
It feels like I've been sick a long time. I think that's the first time I didn't try to make it funny.
You get worried about us all the time. Or maybe you couldn't handle being around this and we stopped seeing each other.
It's possible you don't think anything of it. It might be you have your own dark humor to tell. It could be anything. But no matter what it is, we are trying to get better, I promise.
That's what jokes are for, and in a way, even the worst ones we tell are trying to say,
I'm still here,
fighting hard.
even winning sometimes.
So
If my jokes seem sick, just know they are helping me get better.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Give him some more love. Give him some more love. I gotta tell you, that's a really hard poem to practice over and over and over again, but they've done it. It's a hard one to sit with, but it's also funny. You don't know what to do with it, right? And I kind of love it for that. Please, let's welcome up our next poet, Jax. Come on up, Jax. We love you, Jax.
Trigger warning for mentions of suicidal ideation and self-harm. I can't tell you the amount of times curiosity has gotten the best of me and I have looked something up. But the only result is the number for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. I promise I'm not trying to kill myself. Only thinking about what I would do if I got the urge. Preparing for the day I need more covers than my blankets. And the compression therapy of 6 feet of dirt. These lungs would not inhale, they would only sigh with relief. Fists wouldn't bang on the coffin door and beg for people to listen. They would be too bloodied from beating myself up. I wouldn't register the lack of oxygen to my brain because I'd already be dead tired when I imagine my future. I wonder who will come to my funeral. Whether bullies would stick to their word that I'm better off dead, or if suddenly I would be celebrated in a way I never was in life, transformed from troublesome student to hometown hero. I wonder if everyone who called me a faker would believe me now. I wonder how long it would take tear-stained pillowcases to dry and red blood to run black. Part of me wants to find out. Wants to see how many statistics I can contribute to, the number of teenagers that kill themselves, how many had self-harmed, how many were prescribed medication, how many were trans or queer, how many had a bad relationship with their parents, how many said they felt safe at school, how many showed signs for months or years before it happened, how many tried to ask for help, but their tongues got caught in the cogs of a capitalist machine, how many wanted answers and got referred to the national number for the suicide prevention hotline, how many told friends they loved them before committing. That reminds me, I need to tell you something. It's important that you know I love you.
Okay, give some love for that. That's an honest poem right there. That's some... All right, we've got one more Icy Speaks performance before we move on to our headliners. So, without further ado, please welcome Ruth and Jax and Charlie.
I'm over here.
You're short.
Don't be like this.
You are shorter than me.
Don't hurt me.
Ever since I was little, I have always had an affinity for small animals.
Time better spent with them anyway. The half of our planet worth something.
They're like people, but better.
And they never ask of you what people do. Lock you into things you can't escape.
Part of me sympathizes with the raccoon with grabby hands. We are both reaching out for any morsel of kindness humanity still has to offer us.
We don't save it, and we are too starved to savor it.
Something about porcupines always makes me smile. Maybe it's because we both look a little awkward when we walk her. They've somehow made themselves lovable while ensuring their safety.
Guinea pigs and me, both natural-born hiders and God's test subject, but only acting up when we're hungry.
I wish I shared the joy I hear in a fox's laugh. showing the playfulness beneath their fierce protective temper. Every year in elementary school, some mama rabbit would have her babies under the playground. I never touched them, but I couldn't help but notice how we both ended up surrounded by prying eyes even when we're not ready.
And when are we ever really ready? I've had a terrarium of pill bugs as long as I can remember. They wander aimlessly, not sure where to go, but trying to survive long enough to find a comfortable place to be.
Without this anxiety, I have learned comfort is not a constant. The second I start to get scared, my mind picks up faster than you could imagine. Thoughts rolling at unfathomable speeds, and none of them are coherent. My hands tremble with fear, battling between failure and productivity.
My chest has barbed wire wrapped around my heart when the doorbell rings. This
much anxious is dangerous. Panic and anxiety like to squeeze their fingers around my tongue, turn a jump rope that makes my words skip and slip.
My legs bounce relentlessly. My body doesn't know when to stop running.
Insomnia tears my brain apart as I fall further out of sleep.
Our only goal is staying alive. But that gets harder when we are constantly tripped up and snared by our own minds.
I'm like a chipmunk. Have you ever seen a calm chipmunk?
Sometimes I'm a lizard looking to escape my own skin.
I want these leeches off of me before they take the last of my energy.
America's anxiety disorders doubled in a decade. We have become social cannibals, eating each other's psyches to stay relevant.
When confronted by foxes or my own self-image, baby deer and I react the same way. We freeze and are left to do nothing more than stand still and look terrified, because what if this encounter means we are no longer lovable? I wish I were a ferret, able to weasel my way out of conversations with men too touchy for comfort.
My alligator melts into antelope when I have to walk to my car in the dark. I know all of the lions in my city are out for blood, and my anxiety has me shaking every time I turn a corner. So duh. I like animals more than people.
Animals don't look at magazines and start to count calories. They still eat when they get hungry.
Instagram is only good at showing me animals and how to hate my body in public. I'd like to stick with the goat videos.
A mob of deer is infinitely better than a party full of people, because when you get tired, you can just leave. We are the only species to lose sleep over the anxiety we create.
At 17, my job security feels as shaky as I do. My heart pounds before every shift, but at least I know my dog will always have a roof, because we value animals more than our mentally ill or disabled.
My cat was the first living thing I came out to, and since then, I've never had to worry about him passing threatening legislation. We get so caught up in our individuality, we forget to take lessons from otters and hold on to each other. We drift away across the horizon and sink into a deep blue coffin made of our own self-interest.
A community of critters sounds a lot better after saying all of this out loud.
So I'm leaving. And I'm not coming back.
Hey. Give them the love for all the IC Speak students that performed. Give them the love. Come on. Yo, it takes a lot to be up here, so I appreciate all of y'all. Thank you. All right, we're gonna keep on moving. Now, I should have prepared more to say here, but really the statement is, I met this person for the first time today, and I was extremely nervous. So I'm now nervous to introduce her. So I'm just gonna read her bio here. Ebony Stewart is an international touring interdisciplinary poet, writer, and performance artist. Her work speaks to the Black experience with emphasis on gender, sexuality, womanhood, queer positivity, and race, with the hopes to be relatable, remove shame, heal minds, encourage dialogue, and inspire folks in marginalized communities. Yes. As one of the most decorated poets in Texas, Ebony is a respected coach and mentor, one of the top touring poets in the country, and a Woman of the World Poetry Slam champion. Yes. Go give a little extra love to that. Come on now. She is the author of 3 books, Blood Fresh, Homegirlhood, and Love Letters to Bald Fists. You can get her books out there in the lobby. Buy that shit. Her work has been featured on Button Poetry, Afro Punk, For Harriet, Teen Vogue, The Texas Observer, Houston Public Media, the Breakbeat Poets Volume 2, Black Girl Magic, 2021 Colorism Healing Writing Contest, Right About Now Poetry, and more. Please give Ebony Stewart the love you got. Come on now.
Yo, how y'all feeling? Listen. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I mean, I am from Houston or whatever. Y'all gotta teach me all of that shit afterwards, please. I need to know. Listen, I am just overwhelmed by how excited I am, and I'm a person that is not excitable, and this feels super exciting to be here with you all. And whew, my goodness, I just want to make sure that we acknowledge I See Speaks, Mic Check Poetry Festival, Caleb and Lisa specifically. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and also, like, in all the time that I've been a full-time artist, I have never gotten an opportunity to witness Patricia Smith live. So this is a treat for all of us. Like, I am hype, yo. I am dumb hype. My goal, right, is to really just do work that shows you a little bit more of a lineage. I've been super obsessed with that, just like my family and the patterns and all of that kind of stuff and what certain things mean. It'll come together later, but I just want to make sure that I say that. Mostly, I also want to make sure that I'm honest, and I'm working on being more transparent in my writing. So I want to say, like, maybe the whole thing is a trigger warning, right? And I don't know what's going to move you and what isn't, what's going to come up for you, different things. So make sure you take care of yourself, as I know that you will. I've loved all of the energetic feedback, so keep that coming. You know, I would like to add. Yeah, I would like to add, you know, you could stomp your feet, jingle your keys, roll around on the ground, you know, do whatever make you feel good, Sugarfoot. I love that. I just don't want you to sit there and look at me blankly, because I'll think that you plotting on me. Yeah. And I listen now. I can't have that, because it's already, y'all's weather is very disrespectful. And since I'm already living under that, I would just like y'all to be regular human beings, or whatever that means, just as artists yourselves, writers, and observers of this art. Let's do this. Let's think about something that you used to do when you were a kid that was weird or different or quirky. Anybody got something? I would love to hear it. Yeah, I don't want to be by myself in this. Do you work for the FBI? Why are you doing that? That sounded super judgmental. My bad. Wow. That is really different. But maybe, like, super smart. Because what if you would have got kidnapped and then you could have, like, you see? You be thinking, blood. You be thinking. Anybody else? Yeah, in the back there with your hand. I don't know what. Yep, you. You do what now with the mushrooms? You smell them underneath the trampoline. What? Okay. That is different, friend. Yes. You used to pretend to be a cat? Huh. And what did your caretakers feel about this? Did they weren't alarmed? They didn't think anything of it? Okay. You know, they might have been, yeah, you know what I mean? Like that, I feel like that is like, is that your personality type? Are you more like a cat? You don't know. You don't do it anymore? But, like, is your personality type? The way you answering this, friend, it feel like maybe just a little bit cat-like. I just feel like that's what's up, though. That's what's up, though. Yeah, right here up front. Wait, they did say rocks, right? Because I heard rats, too. And not rats. Why you saying that like that's any different, friend? Why are you like, not rats, rocks? Okay. You just chewing them up, huh? Just chewing them up. What kind of teeth do you got? You got some good ass teeth, bruh. I'm here. Listen, let me mind my business. I want to say this. Yeah, it makes me feel better to know that I wasn't like a very weird or different kid than a lot of you. And maybe you don't know that you were. Maybe you don't know that you were the weird kid. Maybe you don't know that. And you're just now figuring it out by hearing other people's responses to that. You're like, I wasn't weird. Yes, you were. You absolutely were. I always have a hard time writing about myself. It's easier to tell someone else's story, and I'm still trying to convince my shadow that it chose me for a reason. When I was a little girl, my first word was no. I bit people and stopped eating and talking at 10 p.m. I grew breasts before I knew what to do with them. See, I knew. There will be so many times I want to say yes and mean it. Biting gave me a head start at getting back at people, and since I asked so many questions, by 10 o'clock I was exhausted. My breast reminded me that I was a part of some second-class citizenship in a world of dicks every time. Johnny Hart will pull my bra strap out, which breast came with a receipt. Being a young woman is so hard. I'm the youngest of three, so people naturally love me. I'm awkward at accepting compliments. I get all embarrassed in my head, and the only thing I have to come up with is thank you or thank you so much. Translation, I'm still learning how to love myself. I had the same best friend since I started liking people. One time, when I was 12, I ate a whole gallon of ice cream. My mom had to straw feed me Sprite and pat me on the back until I burped. My mother can fix anything. Her dimples are where God's go to learn agape. I've downgraded to popcorn. The first boy I ever loved close enough to forever broke my heart. My favorite color used to be pink, until the same boy that was quicker than my innocence separated the purest parts of me I had left, so now I don't do favorites. But everyone who gets me deep turns red, I've been told. I'm an amazing kisser, and on a platonic level, I give really great hugs. I use all of my emotions during contact because I never know when I'll be touched again. And the OCD doesn't help, always checking and rechecking, counting on my fingers in my head with my lips right now. In case you're wondering what number word we're on in this poem, 364 and counting. I have a stitched spine with a book of poems keeping me upright. There was a time when my parents loved each other for no other reason than to be the color black. I've never met those people. I was the last thing they loved collectively. I know a father who loved music and a mother who cried like a whisper because her lover started treating her like the bass and the snare drum. When people ask why I love the way I do, I say I don't know nothing but the 808. I speak in clouds and concrete. Southern bred, Jamaican tongue around the bullets in my throat, ready to go, but. The same little girl that blacks out when she gets angry is destroyer of all things. My arms be like family and the first thing that ever loved you back. And I know it sounds like I'm bipolar, but I'm not. Okay, maybe a little bit, but it's to be expected. You have heaven and hell in your veins. I speak in thunder and lightning, bring brass knuckles and fist fights. I knew heart when she met pain, a jungle on my tonsils. The same little girl that ran out of paper and started writing on walls when the night collapsed into my chest. Poetry saved my life. 610 and counting. I used to think I could change people by squinting my eyes. Now I just use my words and my side eye. I'm still learning how to love people for who they are because I know being transparent isn't easy. Trust me. I know. We all right? We still good? Thank you. Thank you. So my father named me, right? And it's important to say that because, like, names have meaning. And my name also was supposed to be Allison. That's what my mom wanted to name me, right? And, like, no disrespect to no Allisons out there in the world or even in this room, but, like, I'm an Ebony. You know what I mean? It just works. It just works better. But he did a good job. You know, like, Ebony, when you look it up, is like something strong, black. It could be a type of wood. It could also be the name like for a color or like to describe like a person, or you know, it has all of these different meanings in its strength, right? But if you don't have a poem about your name, I want to encourage you to do it because it's really fun. I always have a good time with this one, so let's try it, right? It requires a lot of like, okay, all right. My name is not convenient. It is the forgotten child stolen from historical value, a burden to the grief that haunts you. Before my name could be full and brave, it was lynched and barbecue skeptical. My name has been raped, branded, and whipped. My name is a chocolate milk titty your babies clung to and from, a forgotten protagonist of forgotten facts. Did you forget how the stories go? My name is how easy it is to misplace the truth, to strip me of all this mighty so I could be a life under servitude. My name is a reminder of nigger children who get murdered in the South, in the North, in the East, in the West, because my name is a threat. My name is an absence in your amen. Or did you forget how the stories go? My name ain't never got a pass. Can't got too much oil slick, too much scratch, punch, and fight. My name is real confrontational, ain't interested, you're comfortable. My name bite too hard, must have been caged, must have been animalistic once. My name is only necessary after it benefits you. You say my name ain't right. Well, mama say everything that has a beginning in me. So I'm a blistering queen. Say my name is a filth and all the light gotta pass through me. My name is a giant. It's rise, it's healing, it's learning to remember itself, is the Congo, the beaten sound you dance to. My name is the utterance of struggle meets pride, meets grace, meets visible. Yeah, you see me reinventing myself, reclaiming my power. My name is a hero that freed ourselves. My name is newborn Negro in new growth. My name, done trying to figure out why you don't love me. My name is a wealthy affirmation. My name is what blackness done been through and can be. My name say I can't be impossible because I be in existence. Ebony. Shout out to everybody who got a gap in your mouth, in your teeth. Yeah. I have my dad's smile, and I'm not no smiley ass bitch or nothing like this, but like, I appreciate when people compliment me on my smile because it reminds me of my dad. And that always feels super good, you know, especially like with this particular circumstances that we're in. But and it's interesting because like I've had braces before, you know, but like I took my retainer out a little early because I couldn't recognize my smile. So I was like, who is that? Let's open it up just a little bit. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm pleased with that, right? But it's like every time like I go to the dentist for a teeth cleaning, the dentist keep asking me about braces. And I ain't missing no teeth, but this gap be wild. I got one mouth and a gap that greet you when I smile and say, forget you, my daddy gave me this gap, so you gotta know I mean it. You gotta know this gap, how my mama know I'm his, so I gotta keep it. Still empress to this fallen empire, I suck my teeth with disdain. A dental habit I ain't willing to change. My gap speak Afro-Caribbean, purse lips, and a country ass, bitch, please. My mouth clean is these gaps that cuss. How everything I'm thinking get free. This here be my mound of Venus. I part my lips and I'm infinity and beyond. Separate from anything but still a physical feeling. I pray to the God of gaps so the gap be wild enough to make you and all 100 billion galaxies jealous. My teeth be overzealous. Get the glory to any joke you make cause my gap expanded and got the last laugh anyway. You can't close the light out of this here mouth ever. Sometimes I sound like gravel, sometimes I sound like coffee and cream, but every time my gap speak, it say what it mean. I brought the cool air and wealth of my family with me. We and the teeth say, forget your standard of beauty. We be a good thing that lasted. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Some of my words got a lisp when they talk, but that don't mean I'm starving the proper way of speaking. My gap just whistle while it work. Say, give me my space. Trust me, we're loved, even if you got an acquired taste. Can I tell you a little bit about my parents? So I've like been in these relationships before or whatever. Like I would love to be in a relationship, but sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm by myself right now because I need to like kind of unlearn some things and just like really enjoy my own company for a moment. But I think also like maybe I'm by myself, like I'm single. I shouldn't keep saying by myself because I'm my own person, I'm with me. But like, I think maybe one of the reasons I'm single is because I am still trying to like unlearn some things and my pick are a little broken. My picture is just a little bit broken. So can I read you all a bit about my parents? This is, I don't know if you all are aware of how your parents are, how they taught you how to love. Because that's something to think about. When I talk about like the lineage of it, it's like, how did these people teach me how to love? What did that do? Was there any damage there, right? And then there's this other piece of it that's like, when did you learn that your parents are human? Right? Because sometimes I forget. Sometimes I forget that my parents are human. This one is called Anxiously Avoidant. And this is the first time I've read it out loud to anyone. Let's try it. You ask me if I love you, and I say, my mama been married 4 times, and I'm not embarrassed. I say that to say she loved all of them too. So it's not all about love. I want to talk about what love ain't. My father chose my mother, and my mother believed him up until she couldn't stop seeing his eyes wonder. I'm not saying no love was there. I'm saying sometimes people don't know what in the world they're doing. Some guy the world denied made my mother his bride. It only took me being alive 15 years to outlive their marriage, and that's the only love that lasted. What I mean is, I don't know if loving me or loving you means I matter. If you'll choose me over the world every day, or which one of us will end up wondering. I got my mama's eyes. I know you didn't think to look there or look for yourself there, probably because I got my daddy's smile. You never met him. But when you get tired of me, it's also because I got his mouth. It should be said, my mama left. The question is not if she wanted to stay, but what would make a loyal woman like her leave? If I tell you I love you, how much longer do I have with you before you go? The guy the world denied couldn't have his bride, so he abandoned his children. If I tell you I love you, will you leave me like my father did or the last one who said they wouldn't? It's true. I'm guarded. I've been lied to before, so maybe it's too hard to love, but who am I not to want? Or maybe you're too consumed with your ego and the idea of conquering to study a girl like me with a heart like mine. You want a love that's easy, and I wanna know if I can trust it. When you make promises you forget to keep, was that the shadow of your former self speaking? Who I intended to believe in or thought I knew? You tell me you love me, and I walk around thinking about heaven all day because of all the hell you put me through, but that's relationships, they say. Never go to bed angry. But I get so tired of being sick of tired, I can let you leave, still love you, and never let you come back. I got my mama's wit and bitch, and I don't care how mad you get, we fucking. I just want to argue with the same person for the rest of my life. But is this the kind of love you can put up with? You want my heart, but what do you plan to do with it? If love is a figment of my imagination, I can't convince you to stay. My mama ain't tell none of them to go. She left. Sometimes I push people away. Some guy that was supposed to be my world abandoned me. Everyone that loves me leaves. My attachment style is staying for love and kissing ghosts. I wanna believe we agree, and neither one of us are making it up. Love is the most vulnerable action I have. If I tell you my plan, will you make my love hurt? My love be consistent. So don't tell me you love a challenge. Tell me you love me, but only if your love can be persistent. Love be the most inconsistent feeling my heart knows. I just want someone to want forever with me, or do I gotta pretend to be good at something else? I love you, but I don't know what in the world I'm doing. Sometimes my heart mistakes loving for leaving and losing. Thank you. It's always like nerve-wracking to like read something like fresh, new, right? But then it has that component of just like feeling good because like now I did it and it's cool. All right, we know what we're doing. It's gonna happen again. I've also had people tell me that I have daddy issues. I'm just saying, like, yes, and you know what I mean? I really don't know anyone who doesn't have some type of parental damage, whether you recognize it or not. And maybe sometimes you think it's my daddy issues, and maybe sometimes it's my mom. And I just love my mom so much that I haven't really given her away yet in the awful. I never describe her as anything other than the greatest, because she is. But the duality is what it is too. But I guess I should maybe say that I do feel like my father has impeded a little bit on my relationships, because I want to be chosen, because my dad didn't choose me. So for those of you who grew up without your father, you know how difficult that can be. Or maybe your father was in your life, but just not consistent, because that's a thing too. Yeah, that's a thing too. You know what it's like to, you, who I'm speaking to, know what it's like for Father's Day, to pick out a card. It's tough. It's tough. And this isn't to say that your other relationships with other people, it isn't hard, but I specifically and honestly have had a hard time with picking out cards for my dad. So this one is called Happy Father's Day. I love it. The child gets it wrong. He said, I only talk about the bad things. Said, I can't remember the good things. Said, I couldn't know or remember all that bad. Said, I was too young. Guess, I got a good imagination. He said, I'm still writing about old stuff. Guess, I ain't got over it yet. He don't like how what I write make him look like he ain't shit, like he ain't raised his kids, like he don't love us still. Guess I shouldn't write the truth. Guess I shouldn't write how I feel, the way I grew up, the way I woman now. Guess I shouldn't make him look like he ain't nothing but some sperm donor, some dude. He said he tired of not being the hero in my poems. I say, me too. I write what I know. He don't like the messages and thoughts he left me with, me neither. Don't like being reminded of his faults, but I look in the mirror every day, got his face, what that make me? I say, how I'm supposed to escape. He say, you bitter. I say, that's what happens when you leave and ain't got nothing when you come back. I say, where I'm from, that shit hurts. He say, you ain't gonna be successful. I say, you made sure of that. And even if I am, you ain't gonna have nothing to do with that either. He said, I bought you ice cream once, took you to the movies a few times, made you dinner, played you in Tekken that time, remember? Remember I came to your volleyball game once, and that one time you played Powder Puff? Remember I met your boyfriend once, twice, maybe 3 times. Remember I bought that one book for that one class when you was in college that one time? Remember I came to your graduation? Remember I was at your wedding? Remember we danced? Remember? I say, you show up to be seen, to get praise and glory that don't belong to you. Damn, I must be ungrateful, needing more than one book, help paying off those student loans. All I've been through shit. Guess I ain't need for shit. Not that shoulder when I almost got raped, when I broke my ankle playing those sports, because I was only hungry once. Can watch the same movie for the rest of my life, eat only one flavor of ice cream, but I heard Baskin and Robbins got 32. Guess I ain't need no talking to on how to get hurt by all these boys. You the best lesson. Guess your hurt was enough for the both of us. You're right. I act like you ain't do nothing. Guess I ain't Christian. Guess I can't get over it. I'm so mean, talk to you so bad, treat you so funny. Guess when I grew up without you, I took you from me. Guess without you, I'd have nothing to write about. So thank you for teaching me how to make nothing out of something the way you raised me. My father hates that poem. And it should be said, I've been working on changing my tenses. My father passed away in June of this year. My father hated that poem. And it's still just super necessary because it's just true. But I want to say, like, he passed away and I felt like we were in such a good place. And I guess that's just how things were meant to be, right? That's how it was supposed to go. Some mending was supposed to happen, but it's such an interesting, complex, grief is such a non-linear beast. And I've been thinking more and more since my father passed away about lineage and like, what is that? How does that work when one of your life sources passes away and they're gone, right? And so I hadn't really been able to write any new work. And so I chopped it up to my grief, and then I was like, yo, maybe I should just write about grief, because I heard this term, and they say good grief. Have y'all heard this before? It was such a fascinating time. I've never used that in my life. So this next poem is also so new. I had to type it out today, like, and print it out this morning. But it's really like considering the idiomatic phrase of like good grief, right? And I want you to take care of yourself. I'm gonna take care of myself. I can't tell you what's about to happen. I don't know if I'm gonna be up here crying, if my lash is gonna come off. I have no idea, Sugarfoot. I do not know. But I got the glue in the back. I could just put them back on. We good. I will not worry. You shouldn't either. But I want to thank you. Yeah, okay. Everything that was once moving has turned to glue. I am holding the phone closely. I am stuck listening for someone to tell me something that can't be true. There's a crack in my sister's throat as if to say, we've never joked about a thing like this before. They say he died in his sleep. And somehow, only then for a moment is it true. I cuss the death angel who knows the only way to catch my father slipping is to take him while he's sleeping. My father has been dodging death since he was a young boy. Staying alive was but one of his wildest dreams. My father, the survivor and the failure. I begin to swell without release. Another learned behavior, good memories are happening and escaping in pieces. You weren't always here when you were able to be here. How dare you also get to die in peace too? I've been sitting in the same position for hours without moving. Oh, good grief. Tell me, what next should I do? Death travels quickly. The phone won't stop ringing. People are immediately sorry and clogging up my line with condolences, concern, then despair and inappropriate questions, asking when, asking how, asking why, asking what are we planning to do with the body, and I don't know. I'm just a little girl whose daddy been gone. How is it I'm experiencing a new grief for a loss I've already never healed from? My last text. Hey, Dad, just checking on you. I love you. Sent without response. This, another time where the little girl does not get what she has always wanted. Oh, good grief. There is a grace in denial, or a reason why, with the refusal to say. In my soul, there is a constant shattering, a never repaired, a call that will never be answered, a void forever to claim for this, the first man I ever loved, and the most recent to completely let me go. I am listening to my father on a voicemail recording. I am replaying his laugh and his stories over and over in my mind. I laugh to myself at the thought of his mouth stretched wide, my grief in the background, going down with the sun. I drink so my suffering is not done in silence. I boil instead of shedding, swallow a sob story, and dare the inner child to come undone. I am my father's daughter, the strongest one he made and only his second born. I've accomplished so much. I've only ever wanted him to see it, wanted him here, front and center, in the audience. Any audience would do. Applauding, cheering. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. So if he was gonna leave this time and never come back, he could have at least told me that too. I closed my fist and punched the air furiously. I've never felt this type of rage unfold. My restless and disillusioned body in a chokehold, this urgent and irreplaceable feeling, whatever stage I'm in, oh good God, grief is winning. My father just died, and I am reminded that he was perfectly fine until I guess all of a sudden he wasn't. Oh God. I thank God for my mother, then immediately think if she dies, then I'll have no one. We don't know how we will grieve until we do. Oh, good grief. Should I start mourning her now, too? When planning a memorial service, you have to consider everyone. And it doesn't matter if you've never planned a life event like this one before. Dead parents know the daughters will find language and money, will save face and face their fraught beliefs, believing that death is so final it doesn't fix anything. Will practice changing tenses and listen to well-meaning people tell stories about a good man who wasn't always a good father. Oh, good grief. This pain we're forced to forever make peace with, or whatever that means. Thank you. We'll keep it. We'll keep that one. I'm always like in competition with myself. And I'm gonna do 2 more poems and then I'm gonna turn it over. But what I wanna say is this. In being in competition with yourself, you think about, what can I do to follow that? What can I do to make it feel better? And I don't think we have enough inspirational poems. I need more in my life, I ain't gonna lie. We're really good at writing about pain. And I'm trying to get better about writing about joy. And just triumph. Being triumphant. Dear universe, I'm still standing here. I'm still loving here in this body with this heart. Peace be, love be, forgiveness be, and I dare you and try and stop me. I love you because you're worth it, because you're a good thing. There, take that. Note to self, take chances on purpose. When the voices turn on you, when you're soggy and soiled, when something is telling you you can't do it, your insecurities are showing, stop it. You have permission to fight back. You have permission to love you first. Where you gonna get another one? Everybody else is taken. Those eyes, these hands, that laugh match the way you walk. Who told you had time to be sad? Never mind those tears. Them, like all the others, don't stand a chance. Wipe them like this. Let them see you like that. This is me loving hard with both hands. Note to self, forgive yourself, heart included. Sometimes you're in your own way. Move like time, like worry. Sprinkle courage, pour confidence, mix. Here you go. Be brave. Now believe it. Move from hoping to making it happen. Change your mind. Go with your first mind. Love even when you don't want to, even when they don't deserve it. When I love the way I love on purpose. You ask, what's love got to do with it? Everything, everything, everything. Your life is depending on it. Make clarity, make lists. It only takes 5 fingers to be positive. Stay positive, pray, love, grind on. Get out of your own head. Breathe. Pay attention. Be slow to speak. Listen. Note to self. Keep reminding yourself. Don't attract negative thoughts or people. Their egos don't belong here. Dear depression, you can leave now. I am aware of the energy I bring into a room. I got a French kiss for fear with this mouth now. It's a good time to say I was here. That's permanent, like hugging yourself. Hug yourself. That feels good. Nobody does it better. Misplacing yourself is equivalent to losing your mind. Take that back. Forget where you put people and things that don't love you back. Trust yourself. Forgive yourself. Take what you need, but give everything, and you might not have much. But fight for the little bit you have. When a poem finds you, you have no choice but to believe in God. This thing is bigger than you. I choose me. I choose me. I choose to live life to the fullest. Quote, I found God in myself, and I loved her. I loved her fiercely. And when I love the way I love on purpose, and you can't stop me. I'm an artist, which also means I'm a creator since I create things. A storyteller because I have stories to tell. A visionary, I write about where I've been. These poems act as self-help. I'm a healer. Not always for myself, but one time a kid told me he almost killed himself, but he heard one of my poems and decided to keep living. And from that day forward, today was a good day to keep someone alive. People ask me how I did it or how they should do it. I'm not sure if they're asking me about the kid or themselves. What I come to learn is, can't nobody tell when I'm not doing well but me. I get to travel across the country and do poems for a living like that's my job. And out of 50 states, I performed in 48 of them. I read an article that said only 20% of people in the U.S. are doing what they love, or whatever sad statistic it was. And I was like, my God, ain't damn nothing in me. I'm doing exactly what I always wanted to do, so I must be blessed. Must be exemplifying this miracle. I am stressed and winning. I look at and update my curriculum vitae daily, and I be like, damn, I'm surprised I even knew how to say that word, and ain't nobody wish nothing bad on me but me. Like everything I ever wanted, I manifested at the end of each meditation. I asked the universe to make me undeniably enough, and people be mad happy when I show up. One time, I performed for 200,000 people and I didn't throw up. It was so cool and exhausting. Did you know? I could touch what feels like 1 million people's energy and help them feel seen, but go back to my hotel room feeling so fulfilled yet lonely. Yeah, it's amazing. Another time, I thought I was gonna marry this guy I had been with for like 6 years out of my life, but he said he hated my lifestyle, even though this is my life's work, because my work means I'm never home, but every time I came back, he was gone. As an emotionally unavailable, mentally abusive. I have extreme PTSD from that unhealthy relationship, but someone asked me to do that one poem about that one time where he was mine. May you find a lover that helps you love yourself. May you find a lover that doesn't require you to give more to them than you have to give to yourself. Did I mention I paid off my student loans with poetry? Can't nobody tell me I'm not the shit but me. I get so sad sometimes. I think I'm losing my mind, and I must be, since I enrolled in graduate school last May. I guess I returned to my oppressor. I am whoever I think I am, but I wish being a good person paid more. I heard it's the wounds that people can't see that hurt the most, but I've seen sunsets that look like somewhere tomorrow. My heart is on fire, so I'm chasing the day. At night, I don't sleep, I grind. I've been in my prime like 9 times. I got so much love, I give and keep giving. I have so much advice that are really opinions, or maybe they're just hard facts I haven't hardly learned yet. Did you know that people ask me how I'm doing by also commenting on my weight? And here I am, some foolish somebody that didn't actually hate the way they look today. But you're right, girl, must be the depression. But I'm the kind of giant that's been through what I've been through, and you could still depend on. I gave all that I had, and you ain't never known a black woman who ain't did that. My friends call on me when they're down and out or just in need, and what good is a God that can't speak life into somebody? Check on your strong friends. Check on your strong friends. Check on your strong friends. Don't believe us. I promise we're pretending. Have you ever tried to tell someone you're not okay, and they're like, you're good, and you're like, but I'm not, and they're like, you got this, and you're like, but I don't, and they're like, keep going, and you're like, okay, you're right, I could do this with my eyes closed. I get so overwhelmed that one time I was drowning and screaming, but everybody thought I was swimming and smiling. I died in that dream, and then I woke up on an airplane flying to a different country to do poetry. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed that my life is crazy. My heart is racing. I'm probably dehydrated. Traveling can do awful things to the body, but the one thing I could tell you about being successful is that you have to love what you're doing. Can't nobody steal my joy, not even myself. I heard or someone said, if your path is more difficult, it's because your calling is higher. So I say I be hero and legend. Nobody built like me, I designed myself. But every time I climb, my community get co-signed. Cheers to the Most High, divinity to the Most High. I just pray I leave something good behind. My name is Ebony Stewart. Thank you so much.
Damn. Whew. Yeah, it's my job to talk right now, but I'm still taking it in. So we all breathe with me. On 3, we're going to breathe in, and then we're going to breathe out together. 1, 2, 3. Thank y'all. Thank you, Ebony, for taking this stage and doing that damn thing. Yes. I literally have never heard that. I heard that last poem in person before, and it made me cry, and yet here I am again. So I thought, I was like, this time I'm going to be fine. And the answer is no, I'm not. But I'm very, very excited to introduce our other headliner here. This lady is a legend, right? A living legend. So let me give that bio just so we get that respect in there, you know what I'm saying? Patricia Smith is the award-winning author of 8 critically acclaimed books of poetry. 8. Writing about indecisive art, Publishers Weekly praised Smith's razor-sharp linguistic sensibilities that give her scenes a cinematic flair, and her lines, y'all kill me sometimes, momentum that buoys their emotional weight. A master of poetic forms, from her Motown crown of sonnets to elegant, I don't know that word. Ghazals? I don't know. I'll learn. Smith's poetry fiercely engages with America's continuous war on black bodies. Yes, Smith is, oh wow, Smith, I really should have been talking with you more because there are so many words I don't know how to read out loud. I was like, I recognize all of these, but I've never said any of these words. Smith is a Guggenheim Fellow, a Civitilian, a National Endowment for the Arts grant recipient, a finalist of a prize, a 2-time winner of a Pushcart Prize, a former fellow at both Yaddo and the MacDowell Colony, and a 4-time individual champion of the National Poetry Slam, the most successful poet in the competition's history. Yes. And there is so much more. Patricia Smith is phenomenal. If you got to see any of her workshops, you know just how much she knows, right? Or at least we got a taste of it. I am so excited to hear this whole set. Please welcome up Patricia Smith.
Thank you all. This has been phenomenal. I love drowning in this kind of poetry. And the shit, you are the shit, Miss Thing. You are. Ebony, it's so good to be in your presence. So good to be inspired by all the poetry that came before. That group piece was the shit, too. And I was trying to figure out, okay, I will do this. I will definitely do this. How y'all doing, all right? It's a long day. Okay, so the book Incendiary Art came about, and thank you, Caleb, thank you, came about because I'm always asking my students to listen for the voices that they're not hearing. And at the time when I saw a lot of young people losing their lives, sometimes but not always, at the hands of the police, I wondered whose voice was missing, and it was the mother. You would hear the mother's voice exactly twice. One when they came to tell her that her son or daughter was gone, and the second time when they came to tell her that the person responsible for the death of their son or daughter was not responsible for the death of their son or daughter. And then she disappears. And I wanted to know where she was. So this poem I'm about to do, it's kind of long. It's multi-part. It's called Sagas of the Accidental Saint, and it's dedicated to the mothers of the lost. I love you, audience. I ain't never gonna, okay. Could do that all night long. Sagas of the Accidental Saint. I don't expect you'll recognize my voice. I don't believe this saga I've suppressed will ever sound familiar. I am just a stooped and accidental saint, no choice except to strain the limits of my throat. I am the mama weep beneath the fold, that paragraph you skip, the wink of gold inside a rotted mouth, that shredding note of grief. Excuse what's inexcusable in me. The shifting wildfire-tinted weave, my ankles blue with fluid, how I grieve to gospel you can't clutch. A fusible display of double negatives I spew whenever someone says my child is gone and then goes on to pile the blame upon my child for being gone. Or maybe you believe the wretched mess is rightly traced right back to me, whose body housed the crime. My daughter out of dollars, out of time, my son just seeking ways to be erased. So many ways they stride into the line of gunfire, tease the trigger, crave the shot, just living through their days as if they're not about to die. He totes a paper bag of wine, or tussles, laughing with his kid, or rolls a joint, or asks his boo to braid his hair while lazing on the stoop, or dares to glare when someone shoves. She fights against the holes around her throat, or somehow looks the same as someone else, or sits inside her car, or someone else's car, or leaves ajar a door she should have closed. He plays a game of hoops to clear his head, or doesn't raise his hand, or raises them, or doesn't stop, or does, or, when commanded, fails to drop his wallet, keys, or phone. He sets ablaze a heap of trash, somebody's car or store, while shouting slogans meant to make you care that he's alive. She's killed if she's not there, although she said she'd be, or there before she should have been, or on her way to work, or coming home, not walking like she should, not walking down the street she normally would. He walks too close behind. You have to jerk your purse out of the way. You palm the mace. He passes, spitting lyric, vile and blue, not giving damns that he's offending you. All you can remember is his race. You ask him to succumb. He dares decline. The situation quickly falls apart. A weapon's raised to line up with his heart because he feels entitled to his spine. She fumbles in her pocket for some change or jumps the A-train turnstile on a dare. She mumbles like her mind is not all there or titters in a way you think is strange. He wrecks his Chevy, waves for help. He calls the 9, the 1, the 1. He's waiting wrong. The folks around him said he didn't belong. He coughs or sneezes, looks away. He brawls with brothers, sisters, wife, father. He waves a Walmart toy, or he can't find his place in line. He laughs too loud. He can't retrace his steps. He droops his pants. He misbehaves. She turns her back or whirls around or could be packing, could be wanted, could be strong enough to snap your neck. She moves all wrong. He wanders into someone else's hood in colors that he struggles to explain. He prances, strides, he's plotting an escape. He stops and spins on you. He's here to rape your daughter. Or he scoffs while you complain about his smell. He crafts a sign. He parks behind your Chevy, thrusts his massive fist into or through the air. He wakes up pissed but right on time, then smokes a blunt or arcs his brow when someone asks, "You good?" He waits his turn or takes a break. He takes a leak. He frightens everyone with his physique. The situation's bound to escalate. So many ways they're asking not to be. She's wearing out her welcome being black when no one asked her to. You've seen her lack of grace, the space she occupies, her glee when chicken, wheat, or welfare checks roll in. He goes to class. He graduates. He takes the seat right next to you. His shoulder makes you quake inside. You simply don't know when he'll blow. She shops beneath the winking eye of video, but then pays with a card that can't be hers. His chest and arms are scarred with scrape and blood tattoos, so why untie the noose shaped like his neck? His clothes are blue or red. He wants your job. He scopes your wife. He craves your home, your cash, your life. That textbook in his hands not fooling you. She hawks and spits. She begs for change. She blows a harp. She blows through blow. She blows her chance. A victim yet again of circumstance. He's fighting back, but everybody knows that he's too coarse, too dumb, too street, too black, too dense, too doomed, too thick, too much of those, too vicious pose, too quick to come to blows, too likely he could spark your heart attack. He flares his nostrils, hides his hands. He flees without explaining why. She lifts, she steals, she swipes, she grabs, she snatches, cuts a deal. He stumbles, he trips a wire. He sees too much. She needs too much. He feels too much. Her skin's too mud. His skin's too light. He fights too dirty, fights for breath. The savage nights are huge with him, the voodoo in his touch. He shoots himself while handcuffed to a pole, or hangs himself while hanging from a tree, or wrings his neck although his hands aren't free. He always seems to fail at self-control. He's monster, ogre, he's the looming threat, insisting he didn't do that thing he did, denying that she'd hidden what she hid, confusing you by getting so upset. He claims it's innocent. He files a case. He lives too large, too long. He must believe that he is white or free. He's so naive. With every step he takes, he falls from grace. He steps inside or out or through or down. She bellows, jumps or hisses, struts or spins. He stalks a street, steps off a curb. His sins should be enough to drive him out of town, where he'd be out of sight and out of mind and out of bounds, but thankfully not out of range. And if you think he's all about the kill, the drops, the gun and gangster grind, you know for sure as soon as you see me, his mama, grieving ugly, wailing about my child, and plucking Jesus out of every bag. You just can't see why he deserves such stupid love. My wailing thrust, each Lord have mercy on my baby's soul, my sad theatrics as my child goes cold. And then the hungry cameras readjust my howls, until he's not my child who's dead, but something feral, edged in leek, a threat to shrubbery and Sundays. While he's wet and seeping into street, they frame his head and mine inside a single shot and ask my nappy hair and bulging eyes just what I think. I keen, implode on cue. They cut the camera back to frame the blooded mask and splay. You don't remember what I say or hear his name, but you are borderline obsessed with my collapse, my crumpled wine and holy ghosted flail, the matinee of mama. You are entertained until you aren't, and then I'm just an open maw, a blur and tongue. You shouldn't waste your awe on my unleashed display of overkill. Ignore the blackish bruiser dripping bile, the spittle spewing me, still bellowing, my Lord, why would you let this thing disrupt your day? I disappear, and while I'm relegated to an anecdote on way to nothing, all you can recall is sputtered gospel woe and caterwaul, that corpse, the tightened wire around my throat. That's my son collapsed there, my son crumpled there, my son lying there, my daughter positioned there, my daughter repositioned there, my daughter as exhibit A there, my daughter dumped over there, my son hidden away there, my son blue there, my son dangling there, my son caged there, my daughter on the gurney there, on the slab there, in the drawer there, my daughter splayed there, my son locked down there, my son hanging there, my son bleeding out there, my son growing frigid there, my daughter deposited there, my son inside the chalk there, my daughter being bagged there, my son on the slab there, my son crushed there, my son rearranged there, my son crumpled in the door there, my daughter's neck shrinking in the noose there, my son's left eye over there, my son as exhibit B there, my son behind the wheel there, my son under the wheel there, my son slumped over the wheel there, my son, my daughter, blooded and not moving, in the doorway, on the stoop, down the block, in front of her kids, just inside the barber shop, face down out in the street, outside the bodega, inside the bodega, in the back alley behind the bodega, on the videotape, a block from home, leaving home, hanging out at home, on the schoolyard, on the blacktop, in his bed, in my kitchen, in my arms, in my arms, in my arms. That's my son, shot to look thug. That's my daughter, shot to look more animal. Shot as kill, shot as prey, shot as conquest, shot as solution, shot as lesson, shot as warning, shot as comeback, shot as payback, shot for sport, shot for history. That's my son not being alive anymore there. That's my child coming to rest one layer below the surface of the rest of my life. There. Thank you. Thank you so much. And this is all part of the same piece. August 19th, 2014, St. Louis, Missouri. Kajim Powell, 25, was accused of shoplifting donuts and energy drinks. Police said the mentally disturbed man approached with a knife in an overhand grip. They shot him dead 15 seconds after they arrived. Video shows that Powell's empty hands were at his side. I am the mother of that darkest magician. His 1,000 limbs thrash in and out of your practice sightline. He is always behind, beside, and in front of you. He lunges for your neck while whistling on a side street 3 blocks away. Firepower throbs in every finger of his bound or idle hands. No matter where he is the leading man in the stuttering convenience store video. If he is not there, he will be. If he hasn't, he is about to. If a blade's not in his hand, it's in his hand. If his hands are up, they're clawing through his pockets for something. If he's screeching, "Don't shoot," he's clearly saying, "Please, I'm tired. Help me fall down." December 2nd, 2014, Phoenix, Arizona. Rumain Brinspan, 34, an unarmed father of 4, was shot to death when a police officer mistook a bottle of pills for a gun. The son of the mother of mistake, he was clearly saying, "Please, I'm tired. Help me fall down." Nothing in that bottle could end his hurting quicker than that one stormy lyric turning final in his chest. His 100 fingers were stumblers, dark and probably. My children are blasted daily out of their own names, paying with breath for the sin of pockets and wallets and bottles and phones and toys. Choking on the iron stench of blood, he reached for the day after the one he was falling in. Nothing good was there. Nothing good ever reached back. March 3rd, 2014, Iberia Parish, Louisiana. Police say that Victor White III, 22, shot himself while handcuffed in the back of a police cruiser. November 19th, 2013, Durham, North Carolina. Police say that Jesus Huerta, 17, shot himself while handcuffed in the back of a police cruiser. July 29th, 2012, Jonesboro, Arkansas. Police say that Chavis Carter, 21, shot himself while handcuffed in the back of a police cruiser. He reached back and found his own hands with his own hands, worked his bound fingers to set his free fingers loose, then used that shackled hand to free the other shackled hand, and the freed shackled hand, still shackled, was still bound to the other hand once both were free. Once free in the shackled hands turned to the matter of the gun, which couldn't be there because they'd searched my baby twice. And a gun is a pretty big thing unless it isn't, unless it is dreamed alive by hands that believe they are no longer shackled. Stunned in cuffs, but free and searching, the left and right hands found a gun with a stink like voodoo, a gun that couldn't have been there, wasn't there, but was. The left-handed him used a cuffed hand, which could have either been left or right, since both were free, to root around for a trigger and fire a bullet right into his left-handed head. Impossible, but not really, since the preferred killing hand may have preferred its shackles. The policeman who had searched my baby twice and cuffed both his free and unfree hands behind his back before his hands found his own hands and pulled, heard no human sound at all during all that frantic magic. No fuck as my boy struggled to get his left shackled hand to do what his right shackled hand wouldn't do. No frenzied pound of one bracing foot against the door. No grunt or whoop of glee to mark all those times he slipped out of custody and in again. But they did hear the bang of the gun that wasn't there but was, just when it sent that bullet into the right side of his left-handed head. Sounds like sacrifice, they thought. Slumped, his eyes cocked and undone, my child was amazed at the sweet hoodoo he had managed. Both left and right hands were shackled and free behind him. There was an eerie, perfect circle of smoke in his hair. Suicide, the policemen both said at the very same time, and since it was odd how they had reached the same conclusion, they smiled and shook their heads. Noting the shackles, they praised their God in the light of miracle, while the boy who couldn't have done what he did, but did, bled down to nothing. March 15th, 2012, Queens, New York. Cherise Francis, 30, a schizophrenic, had stopped taking her medications and needed an ambulance. Police arrived, handcuffed and agitated Cherise, and held her face down on a mattress until she went into cardiac arrest and stopped breathing. She couldn't get out from under the venom flooding the muscle across the span of her back, the command that she breathe from a growler with both knees on her breath. She couldn't summon the spit she needed to call out for me or debate the hammers taking flour behind her eyes. With flecks of his spit in her perm and a prickly pressure suppressing her spine, maybe she thought that the abrupt theft of beat was how Jesus ended mayhem in the body, with all the mayhem at once and then none. Her life relived at its end, unreeled as brash cinema. It was lucid, as bright as backhand. A pair of patent leather Mary Janes with taps and gilded buckles. A walk through 100 songs with half her heart, all the swerve and all the sugar intact. A laugh with an open mouth. Even when her mind careened and fled for tumbling lights, she was my child. She hurtled forward from my body, and her living was a struggle to clutch. I loved her beauty. I loved her unkilled. November 19th, 2011, White Plains, New York. The Life Aid Medical Alert bracelet of Kenneth Chamberlain, 68, was triggered by mistake. When the police responded, he refused to open the door to his apartment, saying he did not need help. A Life Aid recording captured Officer Stephen Hart calling him a nigger. After working for an hour to force open the door, the police broke it down, tasered Chamberlain, and shot him dead. My son was hunched vintage, a nightmare. You need our help, boy, you need our help. He placed a finger on his slow throbbing neck, knew for a fact that his heart still knew its right place beneath his shirt. You just don't know you need our help. Let us in, let us in. He couldn't say no enough, hating the old Negro waver in the word. Let us into your gas stove, your couch, your nasty bed, your rat skittering blue note beneath the trash. That damned rat, all the music he had. Your heart's not right, you're running a fever, nigger. Where was he, Mississippi? Was he a boy, barefoot again, running wild for no reason, pounding all that red dust dizzy? Was he on fire again? You feel hot through this wood. We're here to help. His heart clenched. We're here to fall you down. And the fire walked a road. To fall you down through my child's body. To stop your worry. And straight up to, nigga, to fix your life. That moon. To make it right. He always watched. To give you rest and wanted. March 12th, 2012, Pasadena, California. Kendrick McDade, 19, was chased and shot 7 times by 2 police officers after a 911 caller falsely reported being robbed at gunpoint by 2 black men. McDade's final words were, "Why did they shoot me?" As the moon tangled its beams and grew monstrous huge over his body, he wanted that answer. As usual, his mama arrived too late. He had already dispersed and become an awkward hour. Son of the mother of mistake, his timing and route were askew. But because walk, because upright, because Africa, because decision, because Tuesday, because loaded gun, because running, because too black, because too black, because identified, because uniform, because breathless, because unable, because America, because your mama, because Mississippi, because uniform, because Obama, because the chase, because unarmed, because convenient, because mistaken, because threatened, because ritual, because no one will miss you, because beast, because innocent, because they could, because they could, because they could. Because they. I usually give my boys names anybody can remember. Scapegoat, Target, Perp Walk. He did it. Oversight. The name Kendrick so squashed his potential. He should have been victim, identify, bullseye, not again, miracle. How about accident? Perfect. I never had children. I just had accidents. September 14, 2013, Bradfield Farms, North Carolina. After being involved in a traffic accident, Jonathan Farrell, 24, knocked on the door of a nearby house for help. The woman inside called the police. They arrived and shot him 10 times. My son said, I just had an accident. I need to use the phone. She said, you're black. My son said, it'll only take a minute. I need to call the police. She heard, call the police. My son said, I know it's late, but I just had an accident. She said, 911. He said, okay then, you'll call 911? She said, you're black. The police said, is he black? She said, he's black. When the gun arrived, it said, I just had an accident. The gun 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 said, I just had an accident. March 21st, 2012, Chicago, Illinois. Rakia Boyd, 22, was killed by off-duty police detective Dante Servin. Saying he saw someone pull a gun and pointed at him, Servin fired 5 rounds over his left shoulder, through his car window, into a crowd. Boyd was struck in the back of her head. The gun Servin saw was actually a cell phone. He just had an accident. Every shuffled air is stumbling and probably. And there was Rakia, knotted in a black flow that conjured the idea of army. He smelled them at his back and knew he would never have survived their intent with only the thin wall of a car around him. If they haven't, they are about to. The glint. If a gun's not in his hand, it's in his hand. The slow menace of how they meant his end. If a bullet's not in the barrel, it's in the air, whipping to nape of neck, to her slow unloosing box braid, to jaw muscle, to the snap of his new era fitted, to Indian Remy, to the spine's sweet tip, to a turned back. You know, sometimes they don't find the whole head. Once it is missed, it drips from chain link, seeps into asphalt, clogs storm drains, becomes too fluid for me to mourn. Once I put this baby in the ground, I'm ready. This means war. Geneva Reed Veal, mother of Sandra Bland, addressing the congregation at Johnson Phillip All Faiths Church, Prairie View, Texas. I don't expect you'll recognize my voice. No matter that I populate your world with demons and obstructions, dangerous assumptions. I'm the mother of the hung, the misted head, the pistol whipped, the hands that found the hands, the tasered crazy girl, and all the magic reel that you can stand. I thought perhaps I'd let you see that I am flesh and bone and pulse, and that in the night I wail with want of them. And yes, I know I entertain you, digitized, my break and fall rewound, replayed, and tabbed. But now I fight my own collapse, that ugly twist that grief brings to my face to make you laugh. I'm here to say their bodies weren't at war with you. I'm here to say their bodies weren't at war with you. I'm here to say their wars were in their bodies, and the battlefield was always yours, was always yours, was all. Thank you. Thank you very much. How am I doing? How's the time? Thank you very much. Thank you. Also in that same line, I'm thinking about the mothers who so often have to remain in the same neighborhoods, you know, where they lost their children and just have to fold themselves back into some semblance of life. So I'm gonna do this last poem from this book and then one more. This is called The Mother Dares Make Love Again After. I wake with dawn yawning an unbridled itch across the span of my chest, as if there is a lie that will die if it is not sung. I begin inarguably alone, raveled in unwashed sheets and cloaked in funk so slantly rhymed I suspect its drift is what forces my eyes open. Unnerved by my own lazy arithmetic, I stink this way to stay lonely, to explain why old fingers won't remember the scarlet art of turning a man into moan and spectacular dust. I stink to stay vital, to bless my lumped body with a structure while I wallow in the want of a flap-mouthed kiss or a dime store card crammed with plastic music, mailed by someone who knew me before my plummet, utter and south. Fall into my collapsing circle of arms because this Tuesday has spiraled wildly and led you here. Fuck me in the general direction of history. I will teach you to mourn with your whole damned face, to unreel a keening as crave becomes remember. The horrid moon splatters glow on these dirty sheets that still know me as saint and commands you to weep my life. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. And I was listening when, I was listening to everything that Ebony said, but listening to, that there has to be joy somewhere, and sometimes you have to find that joy in the midst of grieving. So this is a poem about black hair. It's a sonnet crown, so I think you'll hear the whatever. You don't need to know about that. No, I'm trying to do it fast. Okay, it's like the history of, yeah, it's okay. Okay, let me see if I can, okay. In the beginning, earth was fractured, frail with coveting, and could not wait for us. So, flailing in the muscled clutch of grace, we blessed this sullen place. As we were born and born again in tenements and lush, exuberant savannas, flung from hips of southern silver, lifted into life while mamas shrieked and swore, as we were born and born again, emphatic, snared within our thrash and wail, our breath already slowed by blood's incessant question in our chests, every dazzled witness rose to name us yet again. The world was not prepared. Inside its realm, no one could fathom us. Inside its realm, no one could fathom us. We brazen through their shuttered doors. We huge inside their throats. We necessary storm. Our newborn crowns smeared flat with blood, so hot against our little heads. The white mistake was thinking that once rinsed and blotted dry, the clenched rebellious snarl was simply hair with nothing more to say. They saw instead the way our skin corrals and guzzles sun, our breathlessness, our legendary hips. They saw what commerce needed them to see, our backs grown wide and measured for the want of work. They missed the hurricane of hair, the springing from 1,000 wicked roots. The springing from 1,000 wicked roots was just the brash beginning, just the bray of light that hisses warning, do not touch this hair, this vibing wire, these bellowed threads of thundering, no, 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 do not dare to poke a prying finger into dark you do not understand. Our hair is blade when we decide it should be. The fools who died within its kink would speak of smother if they could. Our hair is not your savior, not your kumbaya, your ticket in. When it began so smashed and sleek with blood, we knew that it had fist. Our hair can't be polite. Once we were slaves, our hair was furious. Once we were slaves, our hair was furious, forever springing loose from plaits and bows, rejecting homemade greases meant to tame the wild and wiry bloom that snapped its bands and leapt alive at every chance. At least some part of us was running free, like flame that hungers for a sky, like praying fixed on some place we knew heaven was. We sang our songs but didn't move our mouths. We burned to black inside ourselves. With rivers as our mirrors, we began to build a wall between our stolen air and us. We snapped our dresses to our throats, made sure our hair was braided thick against the spit of men. Hair braided thick against the spit of men, we hurtled forth. For years, we mystified the whisper-tressed, but listened when they said that we were wrong, not white or silk enough, that we'd never be unless we walked into the fire, succumbing to a hate we'd hoarded for ourselves. Because they loved their blemished daughters, mamas twisted knobs on cranky ovens, conjured flame, and made us sit on rusted, wobbling kitchen chairs beneath the ironing comb that charred our necks, beneath the lie that chewed at scalp and root, and we endured that hurt, forgot the days our chaos crown had bellowed, nap unleashed. Our crown still fought to bellow, nap unleashed, though it was wounded, hammered down with heat and oil that stank of animals and flowers, although we wept while memorizing pale and wispy heads in magazines. We gazed and learned to suffer poisons to correct our ugly, free us from the blunder of ourselves. And as we listened, reaching up to touch a stranger's head, a stranger head with strands that disappeared us, trapped us in their strangling glamour, we remembered this, that we are people destined to explode, so we exploded toward ourselves again. When we explode, we know ourselves again. We shake our funky liberated heads and raise our voices to the rafters. Do not dare touch these crowns. And we are Alabama, we are Brooklyn, we are Watts, we are middle finger lifted toward the seething witnesses to all this joy. And we are Trinidad and Harlem. We are bopping straight into the yesterday we were and straight into the history we've made and straight into tomorrow with our rampant naps so gleefully unchecked, so unrestrained, entwined till we become a single soul, yet none of us the same. A single soul, yet none of us the same. We are the only government we need. Our vivid, cocky crowns, stunned in their tilt and swirl. They devastate and irritate. They be our gospel, be our calling card. They be our halo, be the way we reach for sky. The crown is ours to snip or dye 100 awkward hues. It's ours to tuck beneath a Sunday hat, to crimp and twist, to scissor down to air, much like a man's. This hair is all our other breath. It's art upon our heads, a glory spill. It's wild, bewildering, and sexy in its snarl. It's neon, razored, locked and knotted, looped and neon, razored, locked and knotted, looped and razored, locked and neon, looped and not the business of just anyone. Our hair is blatantly political, a staunch and blaring tangle, glory in our names, the gospel on our bobbing heads. It's fierce, and yet still furious, still springing loose from every peril set on silencing its roar. You've underestimated us. You didn't know the muscularity of kink was busily rebirthing us. It taught us all the ways to mouth our names with Serengeti tongues. It's quarrelsome and coiled. It's all the things, but always black and coiled. This hair is all the things, but black and wily goddesses. We've always known the powerfulness of wearing our own sky. The lyric of the scar. We've always known that even though they dared to call us slaves, we never were. If only they had heard the freedom on our heads, the jubilant, triumphant wail of all that hair, its rude, unbridled verb, they would have left us free to rule our own damn selves, to live our sweet and colored lives. Our hair is throat, it's knife against the throat, it's song within the throat. It's how we rock and conquer every room. Our hair's the funk, the scorch, Aretha's growl. Is hair, is funk, is scorch, Aretha's growl is one of just a million ways the tale is told. It's told in gospel hurtling toward the rafters, told in warnings grunted blue and deeper blue by Delta gals. It's told in songs our mamas sang before they threw those pressing combs into the fire. Go on and raise your eyes to where we rise. Go on and hail the royalty. Go on, resent the ways we vowed to live our souls out loud, but do not touch this hair. The black explode, the crowning of it all. Your hands will never know a shelter in this heat, so sweetly hellish on our perfect heads. So sweetly hellish on our perfect heads. This hair has known the yesterdays we've known, has lived the history we've lived. Once we were slaves. And then there were the days we sat on plastic kitchen chairs while trying not to hear the sizzling iron comb, its teeth intent on disappearing us. When they were freed, embracing wild, each strand became a fist that pierced the air, a strident voice that sanctified and irritated, each and every one its tiny god. You say it's only hair, a consequence of blood, a quirk of body. What it is life, and even history can't twist that truth. Yes, even history can't twist the truth, can't warp the telling. See, our hair's the thing that no one else will claim. It makes us like nobody else. It seems there is a world of silk, of blonde and auburn, pinkish skin that coppers under sun. But then there's powerful nappy. There's the pharaoh curl, the everything there is, what black girls have that no one else imagines. Mystery prevails. It just may be the kiss of sun that's braided in the braids, the moon that spits its liquid light in dreaded ropes. The earth was not prepared for what our locks would scream. In its beginning, earth was fractured and frail. In its beginning, earth was fractured, frail. Outside its realm, no one could fathom us, our springing from a single wicked root. When we began, our hair was furious and braided thick against the spit of men. Our chaos crown still razzles, napped unleashed, and we explode, always ourselves again. A single soul, yet none of us the same. It's neon razored, crimped and knotted, looped and coiled. It's all the things, but always black. Our hair's the funk, the scorch, Aretha's growl. It's sweetly hellish on our perfect heads. And even history can't twist this truth. No woman wears the crown except the queens. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all. Patricia, thank you. Whew. So, sheesh. Right. Yes. I want to give a few thank yous. So first, I want to thank UNESCO City of Lit for helping sponsor all of the youth programming so that can continue to be free. Yes. I want to thank Arts Midwest for giving us a grant that helps us pay for bringing Patricia and Ebony here. Yes. And then very importantly, I want to thank the Englert. Thank you, Englert, for letting us be in this space. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a quick 5-minute break, and we'll do a quick short Q&A with Ebony and Patricia. They'll be back up on the stage. If you have any questions, there are note cards out in the lobby. You can write on them, or Lisa is passing them out. You can write on them. She will collect them, and she will tell them to me, and we'll have a fun conversation with both of them. So in this 5 minutes, the house lights can come up, and you guys can run to the bathroom and all of that. Write down your questions, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Oh, and so Giannis, I know one of these mics and mic stands actually, and another mic, so that, yeah, because so that each one of us can have one, and Lisa can have one out of shot. We don't need stands, but we do need the mics. Just a little semi thing, a little semicircle. You know your shot, and I don't know it, so wherever we are, I'm gonna sit there.
This is gonna be a little close.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you know it, I trust you.
I'll check that side.
So you've got me here, them there. Bring them all closer. Heard. Yes.
You're gonna get food at some point.
Well,
That's what
I
I'm
probably
asking.
won't, but we have a dinner reservation.
I'm just making sure you have a plan to eat food.
Oh, no, I don't. I will be at a restaurant after this for 30 minutes, and then I will be at the next.
Yo! Okay, I'll bring you Panchero. That's not one. What do you want?
I'm not gonna eat. I'm gonna be busy.
No. I don't accept that. Also, where do you want these?
Lisa's the one who wants. I don't know. She's up there. Oh, she doesn't need a mic stand now. Oh, but yes, she does want a. I'm sorry. Yes, she does want a mic stand.
life. So thank you. Where, do you know where he is? Funny.
I just didn't want to be in the middle, so Oh, but I should probably get my questions.
Look at folks out here with coats on. This is some rude ass. Love y'all. Love the Midwest. I said goodbye to the Midwest a while ago.
You said I'm done with that, right?
Can't do it no more.
And you would think this is Chicago.
Right. The wind is out there. We don't get the wind like that.
I'm not used to it. Left it behind.
You moved to bigger and better, right?
Okay. That better, but it's not. It's not.
Like this.
But I'm happy. I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
Not like the pig out for that.
Right.
So we're gonna go eat, right?
Yes, we got a reservation set.
I know two people who worked up.
Look, I am hungry, baby.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where's it gonna be?
It's Riverside Theater. It's gonna be right. You know where Merge was in the library? It's in that.
It's in that complex?
Yes, it's right in that area.
Oh, that's a joke. Are y'all saying head or feet?
Pad mall, like a pedestrian mall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never heard that before. So.
Oh, it was new to me too when I moved here. I was like, what is that? You gotta check out the little pad mall. I was like, what is?
It's a Persian form. Some people say guzzle. Some people say gazal. But it's supposed to go in your throat.
Thank you.
It's like
I
this.
for real was
It's like guzzle.
Awesome. Oh no, I wish I would have known because I would have done that.
Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be done. But you don't like messing with their throats like that.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
That's how you say it.
Awesome.
Woo! Which you just? Naya or him? Any of them out there? Right or no? Caleb.
I know. Lisa, I know.
Thank you. Like, oh.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Thank you. Please.
Coffee table book.
I would love to. This isn't. Oh, it's on. Please. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes. I need, honey. I need.
All right, so welcome back. Yeah, you ready? Welcome back. I want to first just thank you two again for sharing your work and being who you are.
Thank you.
So I've got to start with one of the simplest questions, which is, like, in the beginning of your career, was there a single moment in which it became clear to you that you were, in fact, a poet? That this was going to be your life going forward? And I'll pass it to you first, Ebony, because you seem the most stumped. It seems unfair.
I think in the beginning, maybe I thought about it in terms of like the very first time I ever got paid to do poetry. It's like, oh, okay, now I'm that. But yeah, the
big
poet
poet
money.
money.
But it was like $30.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. I think maybe after that, because it seemed that seemed juvenile at that time, right? And then it grew into being, once I decided to be a full-time poet, like that's it. That's when it was like, okay, now this thing is real. Like I gotta really step up to the plate, maybe.
Okay.
I have to say sorry to anybody that was in the workshop because I'm gonna repeat a little bit of something. Being in the slam and doing all that, we were told for so long that what we were doing was not poetry. So I had it, I thought of it as kind of my social circle, and it was fun, and I'll do this alongside whatever my life winds up being. But it was like a recreational activity, you know? And I had written a persona poem at one point in the voice of an undertaker, where I said, you know, he had been telling me that he was very tired of the way his job had changed. Like, it used to be that the phone would ring and it would be some older family that he knew, and some elder in the family would have died, and he would help them. But he said, now when it rings, it's more than likely it's a mother telling me that, you know, they've lost a child. She's lost her child. And so I wrote this persona poem from his point of view. He showed me some of the things he had to do to recreate bodies and all that. And I was reading it at a housing a public housing committee meeting. We were asked to read in very, very strange places. And while I was reading it, 2 women left. And it was the first time they left because I was reading about a body on a slab, and they had both lost their children, and they were picturing their children on that slab. And that's when I thought, you can't play around with this. Because real people are listening. People come to poetry, not just to, they come to for what they need, and maybe they'll never write a poem. So I think it was when that idea of the responsibility of a poet, and I thought, I really want to do this in some way, shape, or form. Of course, I hadn't figured out, but I want to be around this or inside of this for the rest of my life somehow, But yeah, the power that we have is astonishing. And when you think about it, to have somebody come up and say, I felt that way, I just didn't know there was a way to express it. And I know that happens to you a lot, So yeah, it was the responsibility that you make a choice. You say either I'm going to keep having fun or I'm going to see seriously what this can do.
Ooh. And you saw firsthand that responsibility. Patricia, I have a specific question for you. Because you now are, a renowned award-winning page poet, right? Your books are noted. People love them. And I want to know, how has your background in slam and in spoken word, how does it influence your current work?
Okay, so when you're on stage, you're doing a poem one time. The people in the audience do not have a copy of that poem. They can't go home and read it over. So the immediacy of the language and the accessibility, and I just told somebody, picking someone up and putting them down in the poem. It's not like I'm going to tell you a story. I want you to be inside the story looking at it. So you really work hard at language that only needs to be heard once, something that the reader or the listener, something the listener walks away with and comes back to their mind later, So to me, performance poetry, slamming, all that stuff, it was great training for the page because I concentrate so much on sensory detail, and that comes hard to a lot of people who start in writing. They have to kind of infuse their work with that detail. But I'm always trying to create the poem that I want you to hear. And I want you to be able to read it the way you would hear it if I was saying it to you. And we have a lot of power as poets, everything from the way we place the poem on the page to how close together the lines are and punctuation or not, we can make you do what we want you to do, and I think that if more poets started out as storytellers the way that we did, that a lot more of the page poetry would be more accessible and they'd have more impact.
Thank you for that. And similarly then, Ebony, do you find it hard to get your poems from the stage to the page, or do you have either in mind when you're writing?
That's a great question. I just also want to take a moment. In my youth workshop, I talked about imposter syndrome. I'm having like this huge moment sitting next to Patricia Smith. I just want to say that out loud. Beach. Okay, so what is your question, child? Because I'm trying to focus and like...
So when writing, do you keep the stage or the page in mind? Are they divided? And if you write one for the stage, do you have trouble getting it to the page or vice versa?
Yeah, I don't always think about my work in that way, like dividing them. I think they all work the same for me, but in a sense where I do enjoy getting an opportunity for you to hear what the voice is, for me to use my voice and for you to get the opportunity. Like I said earlier in one of the workshops, it's like, however you read it is your business, but I do want you to hear how I read it, so then it might help with how you hear the rest of my work, maybe, right? And changing that idea of I'm only a stage poet. So I really want to be intentional in what I'm writing and how it's translated. But at the same time, I'm okay if it sounds differently to people. I got to be okay with it because, like I said, it's not my business. But working that much harder, in my opinion, it is harder to make things come alive and to be conveyed on the page. And so I do spend that extra work and quality just to dig in a little bit more. Yeah.
The voice travels, you know. I mean, have you ever discovered a poet on the page and you love them? And you say, I know exactly what kind of person wrote this poem, blah, blah, blah. And you can't wait to see them. And you've infused it with voice and everything. And then they get up and they hold a page in front of their face and they drone for half an hour. And you want to go up and snatch the book from them.
Come on now.
Let me read, you know, but in other words, if you listen to Ebony and then you go get Ebony's book, you're going to hear Ebony. When you're reading those poems, you know, because her voice is just that strong. You say, I know exactly how she would say this. And that's what you're going to hear in your head. So that's another thing that you can kind of count on. That's why nowadays you can hear just about anybody online.
Yeah.
Anybody. You discover a poet, look them up. They've done a reading somewhere.
Right.
And that has really enlivened a lot
Sure.
in the poetic conversation, just being able to see what they bring to their own work.
Right.
I've never thought about the fact that like technology has made it so that we know so many poets' voices that we wouldn't have known.
Right.
Thank you for that. I'm going to pass it over to Elisa to give us an audience question.
Hello, we've got a lot of really great audience questions. So we got 2 questions that are pretty similar, and they're for both of you. So one person asked, how did you both know you were making the right choice by pursuing your art?
Ooh.
And another person asked a similar question, what was the moment you knew you wanted to do poetry professionally? So one of those.
Oh, how do you know you were doing the right thing? Oh, man.
That question comes up a lot.
Yeah.
That doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family where my mother, poetry is not a thing. Creative writing is not a thing. My mother used to call me on my good job and say, you know they're hiring at the post office. You know, because for her, you get a job with the city, you work 25 years, you get paid every Friday, you retire with your pension, happy, happy, happy. She's called me on Fridays, did you get paid today? And I'm trying to tell her, I don't get paid that way. So none of this ever, you know, when we moved my mother out of her apartment to a nursing home and went to her apartment, books I had given her were there, spine uncracked. 2 reasons. One is she didn't relate. The other is the one time she did come to see me, I dared to write about family. Even good things about family. You talk about your family in a room full of strangers, are you crazy?
That's right.
You know, and so she just wrote off that whole thing. So you're constantly asking, you know, am I ostracizing myself and my family? Because you start to write about your family and they get kind of strange about that, you know. Your truth is not their truth and all this, you know, they hate to see you coming. You know, they don't want to do anything around you because you will turn that shit into a poem.
Right. Didn't I say that?
You know, so, so you continue to kind of take your own temperature, I think, throughout parts of your career and say, do I still feel like, you know, and at some point, there is no other answer.
Right.
You know, there is no other answer. You know, after you've passed the idea of with family and things like that, there's nowhere else to go, no one else to answer to. So at that point, it's like, yeah, you're talking about joy in who you were and finding yourself. I stopped at one point and I said, I'm in Japan.
Yeah.
On a stage with nobody speaks English. My words are on a screen behind me. It's all these little Japanese businessmen. And I thought, look at this, Daddy.
Yeah.
Look at this. You know, and people are listening. They're waiting and you said they came, right?
Yeah.
They came to see what I was going to say. And if you're surrounded by that, you realize this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
There's no other answer.
Yeah.
It's, I'm this right direction, all right.
Yeah, it must be the best and most right direction. I do suffer with, like, am I making the right choices? And it's also linked, I think, to how my family looks at it. My mom, on the opposite, was very supportive. She's like, all my kids is so different, so I just let them be. So she just let me be whatever it is that I wanted to be, but I think there is that fear of the security in being an artist, and can you take care of yourself, or are you moving back home? You know, that kind of thing, and that is always in the back of my mind and comparing myself, which is really what it is. Am I making the right decision because I'm comparing myself to what it's supposed to look like based on the standards that my family has put me in, right? Or what they believe to be successful, right? So that's usually where that comes from. The second question I don't remember as much.
Remember it? The moment. Was there a moment when you knew you wanted to do poetry professionally?
Oh yeah, I think yes, that is similar, right? Because I think that constantly recreates itself in the moments. You're talking about Japan. I was in Ghana 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't believe that people knew my work. Like they were saying the words while I was saying, and I'm like, how you know my poem? What? When you seen it? You know, I had no idea. But then we go back to the accessibility of social media and YouTube and videos and just stuff being there for them to like be able to look my work up and study it, right? So that's incredible.
Great. There's actually a question that follows up on that a little bit. This is for both of you. In your travels abroad, have you ever experienced a place where you felt a kind of raceless freedom?
Raceless freedom?
Yeah.
I
That's the
felt
question.
it, but I don't know if that's what I was really feeling.
Right.
No, one of the first trips I took, I went to Italy, but I didn't go. I went to Sicily. Nobody ever chooses to go to Sicily. Everybody wants to go to Rome and Milan, you know. And it was, all I remember is being really tired when I got there, and I was sitting on the side of my suitcase, and a man came up to me with a handful of flowers that he had just bought. And he said, Bella Nigre. And I said, you call me a name? But, you know, right. And then I found out, I said, you doing that, huh? And it was like, okay. Because they didn't have no idea where I was from. Because what happens, United States carries a lot of bad weight. Okay, so if I could have been from, the Caribbean, I could have been from anywhere, And so I was able to walk around without that weight. Now, that's not saying it was racelessness, but I didn't feel any problem walking into any place. What you are really is you're exotic.
Yeah.
People look at you, they look and stuff, but they're just like, Yeah. And after a while, you get used to that, you're fine.
Right.
Because you get home, ain't nobody looking at you like that.
I know.
You get on the bus, you say, I'm here. They're like, sit your ass down.
Yeah, we know.
Sit your ass down, right.
Sit your ass down.
Yeah, so you are, in a way, you're like a spectacle, and I suppose that could be irritating after a while. But it is racelessness in a way that nobody's gonna call you the N-word.
Right.
They're gonna ask where you're from or something. But I'm gonna tell you, black skin in Italy, at least in Sicily, people used to lean out their windows calling, "Come have dinner with me."
Yeah.
I did stuff in Italy I would never do at home.
Right.
No, you know what though? When you're traveling, you do things that you wouldn't do at home. I was in Bangkok and there was a crate of snakes on the sidewalk, and they were selling snake venom wine. And you'd say, I want some, and they would take the thing and they would pull the snakes.
But you just want to try it.
And squirt venom. And they said it was an aphrodisiac. I was like, hook me up.
Hook me up.
Yeah, I saw other people drinking it. They didn't pass out, So I wouldn't. Now, if I was in New York and they were doing that on the sidewalk, I wouldn't do it.
Fuck out of here.
But you just let loose part of yourself when you're traveling. Yeah, you're just more adventurous.
Yeah. I like that thought of like a racelessness. Similarly, I don't know if that's what I was experiencing. I know when I went to Melbourne, I did get a lot of stares, and some of them didn't feel good. But like no one called me a slur, but sometimes their eyes did things that I'm like, you want to call me something, or you're unsure about me, right? But it was mostly because I am a dark-skinned black woman, and a lot of the dark-skinned people in Melbourne, Australia, are also Aboriginal, and they are also in prison, right? So me walking around downtown was kind of like, what's going on here, right? But in the contrast of going to Ghana, like, I was greeted with welcome home, and it was just a beautiful time. And there was everybody's a dark-skinned black person out there, so it was no difference in that being made, but there was I'm sure colorism is still slightly something there, and that has its own type of power and energy. But yeah, I haven't. But racelessness, I don't know if I would use that word. And I think that that's because whoever wrote that, it's because you're thinking in terms of like westernized culture and like what America does to us here and how we think about race here. Might not be necessarily the same in these other places.
Definitely carrying America on your back.
For sure.
And everything they know about America. you
Right.
know. People come up, oh, tell me about Trump. I said, leave me
I don't know
alone.
nothing about, yeah.
You know?
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a lunatic.
Do you
Go
want
ahead.
to keep going?
Yeah, one more.
This is a fun one. Not a fun one. I mean, it's a good one. How do you write about trauma without re-traumatizing yourself?
Ooh.
That's an interesting question. Every time I write about traumatic things in my life, I don't think I'm re-traumatizing myself. For me personally, sometimes it's just a moment of me getting loose, getting free, and that is empowering for me. When I'm writing about other things that are traumatic, I will say that I don't want to shy away from that feeling and be like, oh, I'm re-traumatized. I don't even know if I think about it like that. I really am just, how honest and intentional can I be in telling this story the way it is and how it is? And if you feel something, or if it hurts you, or that it did exactly what it was supposed to do, right? Because it can't hurt more than the person experiencing it or who has lived that. So yeah, I don't know if I necessarily look at it like that, but.
So when you become a poet, you become a witness. And you know those little tiny horrors in our life that happen and we think we paved them over and that we never have to look at them again, and so you say, thank God that's all done with. But when you become a writer, you look at that pavement and it's going like this. You know, it's like you're going to have to see this thing again. You're going to have to get on the other side of it.
Right.
But now you have a way to do that. So I've never thought about that before, but I think when I do write something, I think there is a little bit of the re-traumatizing going on, but then you have to decide, is it worth it?
Right.
Is there somebody in the audience that's full on being traumatized by the same thing who does not know they have an avenue to work through it?
Yeah.
And once they hear that there's someone else, you know, it's all community. You know, I mean, there were a dozen things that I thought I was alone.
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one until I heard someone say out loud, me too. So if you think pulling that other person in is worth the bit of re-traumatization that you have to go through, you just have to measure that kind of every time. And sometimes it's different. If it's around I lost my father too in like a robbery. So if it's around his birthday or something, I'm deeper in. If it, but if I've talked to someone and I know that they're going through that same thing, it's like, okay, I need to see if this poem has anything for you, and you might be like broken at the end of that day. But when somebody says, I felt that too, I just didn't know there was a way to express it, you're like, thank you, Jesus. Somebody else knows that there's a pathway through this muck, So yeah, I think you could listen to somebody else's poem and be re-traumatized.
Yeah.
I mean, what we are writing about nowadays, because there's such a shortage of truth, we are writing about things. We're always talking about how we should be talking to each other, but we really don't. So we're talking to each other with stories, and each time we do, we're going deeper in. Because there will be no movement unless that spot is touched.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to the one thing about whether it's worth it. I think often a thing that I talk about with my students and things is it's not worth it to win a slam. That's not what it's worth, right? Like it's worth it for what you just described, which is that connecting and that helping others heal and move forward. But I think often new and young writers will fall into the trap of tackling trauma in order to win the slam, not to move forward or to heal.
So just really briefly, I was judging, I don't know if it was louder than a bomb or it was something. And I think there was a young woman who got up on stage to do her poem, and two other people came from either side of her and just held her shoulder
Yeah.
as if they were preparing her to get through the poem. And I had to think a long time how I felt about
Right.
that.
Right.
You know, that she was, it was going to be that brutal that she needed that kind of support and help. But in the end, people were going to hold up scores.
Wow.
And so I think one of the feelings I have when I'm watching slam nowadays is I wonder about the people who feel like I would have won that. I haven't put enough out there. I haven't bared myself enough. And that's kind of frightening to me, because not all people are able to do that and just bounce back.
Nor should
know?
you. Like, not all of them should.
Yeah, yeah. So it's, you know, slam has come a long way. A really long way.
Yeah.
I have one more question, and then I think we'll pass to one last audience. Is that? Yeah. That's what we're gonna do. So I just really, because I really want to know this, which is, what was the last poem that really challenged you as you wrote it, and can you describe that challenge and how you overcame it?
Yeah. I actually got a chance to share it.
Yeah, I know. It's like not fair that
I got to share the newest piece is called Good Grief, right? And our memories are hard and traumatizing, but also beautiful at the same time. And I'm so grateful that I have so many memories, but there are times when, like, I'll remember something and it'll traumatize me in the sense of, like, I'm so sad, you know what I mean? And I have to just experience my grief right now. So in writing that piece, I had to stop multiple times. I had to stop multiple times and think about what's happening for me. How do I take care of myself in this moment? You know, my siblings are married people, and so they have each other to lean on. It's just me in my house. So I have to be really careful not to fall apart and come undone and nobody can reach me, you know? So I'm thinking about that as I'm writing. But I also think if it's, I have to pay attention to my settings, like when I'm gonna share it, what I'm gonna say, how I'm gonna set it up, what I wanna say afterwards. Like, all of those things work together for me. It's not just me thinking about this poem and how hard it is, but when I present this, if ever, what do I need? When is the perfect time? That poem in particular, I would never put in a slam. I decided a long time ago that I didn't want to put scores towards those type of pieces for me, just because the judge is supposed to be, you know, they're doing their job, you know, and I'm not gonna villainize them or condemn them for doing their job. But I also know that my work isn't up for that score. It's up for something different, you know? So I think that's the overcome, or the ways that I'm working through it. But honestly, it's such a new poem, I have to just figure it out sometimes in the moment.
I think that's hard too, because you do something from the heart that way, or something that's that important to you, and when people hold up the score, it's hard to figure out, are they scoring my performance of the poem,
or the story,
or are they scoring the way I handled the situation?
Yeah.
You know, and that's scary. It took me a very long time to come to the understanding that just because someone gives birth to you doesn't mean that you have to love them. I was an inconvenience for my mother. You know, she came up from the South and said, well, I have to keep this man in the city. I better get pregnant right away. And she was always off doing something else. That's why I was so close to my father. And when I lost my father, we looked at each other like, and you would be who? Because she didn't have any role in any other part of my life except functional mother things. And at one stage, when I was an adult, I said something she didn't like. She hung up the phone, and she did not talk to me or take my calls for 10 years. 10 years. And what broke that is I got a call. I was at a conference. I got a call, and I saw her number, and I said, she's dead. I can't think of any other reason why her number would be on the phone. And she was like, we had just talked the day before, and somebody needed her to sign something. She was getting older, and she was frightened, and she needed me to sign something, and that was it, you know? So I really don't like my mother, and I don't think she particularly likes me either. So now that she's kind of in cognitive decline, she was telling, but right beforehand, she was telling me all these things she wanted at her funeral, who she wanted to sit where, and what kind of casket, and all these things, you know. And I don't know her friends. I don't know any of that, you know. So at one point, she got mad at me, and she said, well, just cremate me, right? And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, you know, and I wrote a poem, and it was about going over this brochure with her. Now, I'll tell you, a lot of people, especially black women, they get mad at me. I'm going to tell you, honestly, instant love does not exist. You know, I mean, you have to nurture love.
Yeah.
It might be there at the beginning, but to keep it there, you have to act on it. You know, it's just not stamped there, you know. And so I was going through these funeral home brochures and stuff with her, and I kept putting the cremation one on the top of the pile, you know, because the pomp and circumstance, that whole thing with all these gilded tributes and all that, I don't feel that. You know, I don't feel that. And everyone's going to hate me when I tell you this. I'm sorry. I love you all. I'm sorry I'm about to change your minds about me. The last part of the poem is, it just talks about the kind of love, you know, me screaming into a dead air of a phone and trying to get her back, you know, and her calling me and I crying on the phone. And she said, is there someone there you can talk to? You know, like that. And I said, now I'm going to return that same kind of love. And the last line of this poem is, go on, throw a match into her hair.
Wow.
All right?
Okay.
So, and that was really, really liberating for me, because I held on to that so long, and I held on to it too long, you know. So now that she never recognized what I was most passionate about, never understood what I did for a living, how important poetry was, never wanted to. You know, you're being silly. You're just being silly. What are you here for? You're doing that stuff. You're still doing that stuff, that kind of stuff. So I had nothing to connect with her. Nothing. Yeah. You know, so I'm working that out. And I think that was, for 1,000 reasons, a very difficult place for me to reach, and the most difficult poem I've had to write.
We are so grateful to you. Thank you so much. And that's the end of the questions. We're also grateful to the Englert for donating the time and space, and they need us to go. So if everyone, maybe we could get some photos out in the lobby. If
Ebony and I are going on a 25-city tour, 25-country tour.
We're going to. We're the first ones to hear of this.
Yes, this is stop one on our. We have to have a cool name for the tour.
We'll come up with
Please give them another round of applause. Thank you.